going to do that. Yay, happy Monday, Inspire Beauty. I wanted to give a quick recap. I've got it written down to the side of me, so I'm looking over my shoulder. Shouting out our Success Club leaderboard. So far this month, we are approaching this week the halfway mark of the month. And so these are the people who have already started getting on the leaderboard and helping lives. And hopefully this inspires you for the last half of the month to follow suit, right? And to get those people plugged into your boot camps, into your bod groups, get people who are wanting to test out body, all the things. There's so much coming down the pipeline and going on right now that it's an incredible time to be inviting people to what you have to offer. So Leah, this is updated as of this morning when I saw it. So if you've helped somebody today, it won't be on my watch yet. I'll see it in the morning. But Leah is at SC4. Kristen's also at SC4. I see Ashley at 2. Andrea's at 2. Amanda Stone's at 2. Nicolette's at 2. And Sarah Ziegler is also at 2. And so we're getting those names on the board. I love seeing the names start to come in. Guys, make sure that you're shouting yourself out, especially over on the Emerald collab page. Most of those names that I said, I'm pretty sure all those names I said are over there and or in a thread of some sort. Make sure that you're coming in there, share your best practices, talk about what you're doing, because you never know what aha light bulb is going to go off for somebody that that's going to help them, right? Move the needle forward on their business. And if anything I said to you, Sarah, was news to you, y'all need to open your back office, right? Like I should never shout you out before you know your business about your business. Yeah. Tonight, let me go ahead and share my screen. Where am I at? Here it is. Tonight we're going to be talking about, hold on. Tonight we're going to be talking about let me make sure this is all set for me before I dig in. There we go. Okay. We're talking about how to take your business and yourself seriously. And it is a package deal, my friends. Okay. It's a package deal for me. And I'm telling you, everything tonight that I'm talking you through is from the trenches of times in my life and in my journey as a coach for almost 8 years now, you guys, that I have not taken myself seriously. And in turn, it's a reflection in my business of things I'm not taking seriously. This business is a very simple buy-in. In fact, a lot of us talk about how it's free to become a coach when you buy a challenge pack, right? Like we even advertise that it's free to start a business. And truthfully, you guys, if you were to start a brick and mortar from scratch business, you would be spending tens of thousands of dollars. You would be getting loans from the bank to open and start a business. If you had baking on your heart, if you just like love to freaking bake, you want to bake all the things, all the cupcakes, and that's what you wanted to open was a brick and mortar bakery, you would invest tens of thousands of dollars. With Beachbody, when you bought a challenge pack, if you became a coach at the same time, it was $0 down. But sometimes I think we think this business is small because of a small investment we made. And so then we play small and we treat it small and we wonder why it's not growing. If I showed up to a brick and mortar bakery and some days I felt like baking and I baked it, and some days I didn't feel like baking, so I didn't have any product available for people when they got there. Some days I went to the store and opened up shop and turned the lights on, and some days I didn't because, emotionally I wasn't feeling well today, so I just didn't open my business. Like you would close your doors and you'd be in debt, right? But in this business, there's not as much buy-in. So for some reason, we think it's a small business, when in fact, this business has the trajectory and the opportunity to transform your life, completely transform your life. So tonight, I want to talk a little bit about like taking that seriously. How do we take that seriously? And what are some key components I've learned in my journey that might help nudge you to do the same and follow suit? So number one, I'm going to scroll through, and I don't know why this stupid thing is in this bar is in my way this whole time. This chat bar just will not go away in front of my face. Anyway, I'm going to scroll through. Raise your hand if you're a leader on this team. I want to see whose hand goes up. Who's a leader on this team? Okay. Wow. So many hands up. There's a lot of hands up. Yeah, leave them up because I was kind of scrolling through. Okay. And now do me a favor. Let me rephrase that. Because some of us, we put our hands up right away. Some of us made no eye contact as we put our hands up. Some of us watched other people put their hands up and then got brave and said, okay, she put her hand up, I guess I'll try it. And maybe some of you thought, oh, this is a trick question. Brittany's doing one of those things. She's asking a trick question. So I'll just put my hand up because it's a trick and I'll figure out in a second what she was trying to say. Now I want you to raise your hand and keep them up this whole time. Raise your hand if you are a mom. Let me see who's mom on our team right now, who's on this call. Keep them up as I'm going through. Who, you're going to lose blood flow. I'm like Amwala here on arm day. Who, keep your hands up. Who is a spouse or is in a relationship with somebody? Put your hand up. Okay, keep them up. Everybody's just keeping up what you've got going up. Cool. Okay, and then who here has followers on social media? Put your hands, keep those hands up. And now you got followers on social media. Friends and family members that like are in your life. Yeah, okay. Everybody put your hands up. Thank you. Ladies, you can put them down. You are all leaders. You're all leaders. You know why you're leaders? Because your example impacts the people around you, whether you want to believe it or not. And so as a mom, your example is impacting your children. They will copy and duplicate what you do. There are still things I do to this day that I'm like, dang it, that's my mom. Even if I don't want to copy it, I do because I watched that example over and over and over again in my life, right? There's examples as wives or in relationships that, love it or not, you're duplicating because you witnessed that in a relationship that you watched, whether it was your parents or your grandparents or maybe an aunt and uncle, or I don't know, right? There's things you duplicate. If you are, you're dynamic in your family and the way you show up, it's just how you were taught over time. And so all of you guys are leaders. It doesn't matter whether you have like party of 1 here or party of 10, you're a leader. And the quicker that we start to realize what leadership really is and stop putting it on this pedestal of a position, but rather a way of living, we're going to get so much farther, so much quicker. Leadership for many is a position. In fact, you've probably seen many positions in your life of leadership done terribly wrong. You could have, maybe you think of, when you think of a leader, you think of a boss, or you think of a administrator at a school, right? You could think of a coach in your life. And sometimes a good idea of that leadership comes out, and sometimes a negative connotation of leadership comes out. But love it or not, they were appointed to a position in which they had power. And that's all that is. But to me, leadership's not power. It's not a power dynamic. Again, it's a way of being. It's an example you set. And every single one of you, as I scroll through, y'all are examples to so many people in your circles. And that bleeds out. That bleeds out. So we have to learn to lead ourselves. Number 1, in taking ourselves seriously. And this is not even number 1. So if you're bolding, this isn't even 1. This is like pre-1. This is like the prefix to the whole book, right? But we've got to learn to lead ourselves. And so in my journey, in my business, okay, learning to lead myself has looked like my growth journey. Who I was on the left in that picture, that's kind of my very first, like my very beginnings as a Beachbody coach on the left there. That's actually when I was doing Insanity for the very first time. So I hadn't even said yes to coaching yet. On the right is me now. And who I am today is not equipped. Hear this. I'm not equipped to achieve the dreams that I have on my heart right now. Because growing into her, into that version of me, is the point. So you might be on the left or in a place of your journey where you feel like you're at a start of some point, right? A starting point. I need you to know that who you are in your starting point is not equipped. You're not there yet. And that's the point. You have to grow into her. The second part of leading myself is my own personal business. This is what I'm doing when no one's watching. I posted that picture and I clapped for myself when I hit Success Club 50 months in a row, because I'm going to tell you guys tonight, you better clap for you. Like when I came through and I said what SE points you were at, y'all should have already known that and been clapping for yourself weeks ago. or yesterday or whatever, right? You've got to learn to clap for yourself. Sometimes I think we don't come into our threads or come into the page because we're like, oh, I don't want to look like I'm bragging about my SC points. F that. Bragging because you literally are helping other people. Bragging because you're literally moving the needle forward towards your goals. Yeah, you could brag about that. I think that's pretty stinking cool. There's a way to say things, right? And when we're coming from an angle where we just are so excited about the potential of someone's new journey, and we're so excited that we got a win in our business, that's not bragging, that's celebrating. And we need more of that. And you have to be the one to celebrate yourself first. If I never came on Thursdays and celebrated anything, I would hope you could still come in there and clap for yourself. Okay? But behind the celebrations, behind the shiny objects, behind the 50 balloon, there's me, not curled hair, no filter or preset on that picture, on the other side of that desk, working. It's not sexy, it's not flashy, it's not Instagram worthy, it's just work. And I feel like for a long time in my business, I missed the mark on teaching my people that this takes work. Like what I do right here, this is not me just happenstance. I didn't just wake up one day and say, oh, cool. Like I got results on my fitness journey and all these ladies are joining me. No, I work really freaking hard. And if you see things in my journey that you're like, man, I wish I could duplicate that. Understand you have to duplicate my actions too. You don't get to duplicate my results if you're not willing to duplicate my actions. And that goes for any coach that you admire. It's work. And then learning to lead yourself is also learning to lead yourself via your people. Now, understand what I mean when I'm saying this. I'm not saying that you need to learn to lead your people. You need to learn to lead your people as an example, right? So the example you are setting, your actions are actually what's leading your people. You'll never be able to lead them. Like so often I hear like, oh, I want to be diamond. I want to have a big team. I want to have coaches that want to work this business, but you're never going to be able to lead them in that category until you can first lead you. So if you're like, man, I want a team that's hungry to build the business, and yet you've never hosted a team call ever, how are you going to have a team that's hungry to grow the business if you've never even trained anybody, right? So these are like things in your journey that you can start to like add to the pile of learning. But ultimately, it's the example. If you don't show up consistently on social media, how will your people ever do it? Your people are always going to do a small fraction percentage of what you do. It's just the proof. So if you're worried that your coaches aren't building this business, but you look at yourself and you're not hitting Success Club consistently, there's the problem. So you have to learn to lead yourself as an example for your people so they see what's possible, okay? So now that we've got leadership out of the way, because I really believe that if you can own this leadership mindset, if you can say, you know what, no one called me a leader, but I'm going to call me a leader because I'm showing up, I'm growing, I'm owning my business, I'm trying to be the best coach and challenger and example I can be, I'm leading myself, then that to me translates that you take yourself seriously. You take your own self seriously enough to lead from the trenches. So tonight, like I said, we're going to talk about how we take our business, but also it's a mixture of yourself very seriously, because I think this business is like the most beautiful mirror that you could ever hold up to your life, right? It kind of reflects back at you some of the places where you are lacking belief in yourself and some of the places where you are holding back and maybe playing small. And so it's such a beautiful reflection when you treat it like data. Not like a shaming, not like when we look in the mirror, ladies, and we're like, oh, I'm tearing my body apart. Oh, I'm tearing my business apart. I'm tearing my, social media skills apart. I'm tearing my coaching apart. I'm going to tear all that apart. No. Look in the mirror and look at it as data. How am I improving? Where am I going? What does this look like? It's just a reflection of what does it look like and where can you fill in the cracks? So the first thing, now we're at bullet point number 1. The first thing for me, when I really drew the line in the sand and said, you know what, I got to take this business seriously because I got to take myself seriously and I want other people to take me seriously, was I had to start crafting a vision and a dream and a hope for my life. I think that's really important. If you don't have a vision, it was so fun on Saturday, you guys. Saturday book club was it filled my heart so much because we sat down together, and one of the daunting questions in this book we're reading, Built to Last, one of the daunting questions was, well, first there were two questions. And the first daunting one was, where do you see your life in 5 years? What would the ideal life look like in 5 years? And already that was a little like, oh, I don't know. The initial response is like, I don't really know. And then the second question, the follow-up to that was, what about 20 years? And we joked together that at that point, we all just closed the book and we're like, I'll come back to that. I'll think about that later. I'll think about that in 19 years, right? So I nudged them next time we show up on book club. So this was like 2 Saturdays ago. I said, next time we show up on book club, I want to know, number one, how old will you be in 20 years? Right now in the chat, how old will you be in 20 years? Some of you haven't done this exercise yet. So tell us, how old will you be in 20 years? This is so good. Yeah, Kristen, we're going to be in our rockers, girlfriend. I love it. Yes. This is so good. Guys, look at how beautiful this is. Oh, I'm so excited to be old and gray with y'all. We're all going to look fabulous, by the way, like freaking fabulous in our 50s and 60s. Yes, right? Like, I can't even believe it. But now, if you have children, how old will your children be in 20 years? Some of you guys who've got kids, and yeah, Leia, and 70s. I love it. Dang. And so it's important, Dana, when you're saying they're going to be 36 and 32, and we're looking at what age our kids are going to be, and keep throwing them in, you guys. Do the math on a Monday for me. When you're seeing that, you can see what season of life are they going to be in? Are they going to be parents at that point? Are they going to be in college at that point? Are they going to be... Okay, Nicolette, how is one 13 in 20 years? I'm no mathematician on a Monday, Nicolette, but I don't know. This is in 7 years, she's having a child. This is her 7-year plan. 7 years a child, and then they will be 13. I love it. That's totally a typo. I love it. I know, Kelly. Oh my gosh, Nicolette, in 7 years, if you have a kid, we have to rewatch this call. But you guys, isn't it wild to think about where they will be in their season of life? And so what we did together is we said, what would we want it to feel like? Right? Like, what do you want to do with that? With like, okay, so your kids are in college, or not, depending on their pathway, right? Do you want to be able to pay in cash for that? Do you want to be able to send them to any school that they want to? Some of us talked about being able to take our kids on trips like, Disney, and being the type of maybe mom or grandma at that time that can go on adventures and just drop everything and be there with the family, right? And so we've talked about these things, but that's vision. And I don't think often enough our default is, I don't know. Just like all of us agreed when we picked up this book and read that question, our default was like, oh, I don't know. But it's important because this is your GPS and this is your guide. It's what's helping you navigate your next right step. And when Charlie and I were navigating leaving California and coming to Texas, it was a really challenging decision for us. And so we read a book called The Next Right Thing. And that's kind of where I've kind of leveraged ever since then, is this idea of what's my next right thing when I'm struggling, when I am not having a great day, you guys. My next right thing is always, always, always probably action oriented. It's probably a something of some sort, right? So maybe your next right thing after a long, hard day is not the glass of wine, but maybe your next right thing after a long, hard day is get outside and go for a walk and put on a podcast, right? Maybe your next right thing when you're, when somebody just canceled their coach account and you're so bummed out because that's going to change your rank, isn't to go and cry yourself to sleep, but maybe the next right thing is to go send out 5 invites and just like do something in the direction of your goals. So right now I want you to think, who do I desire to become? These are some of my like thought-provoking questions I think through when I'm crafting vision, when I'm thinking about my hope for my life. Who do I desire to become? What type of woman? What type of mom? What type of mentor? What type of wife, you know? And I ask myself often, or I kind of fill in this blank, it would be so cool, you know? And to let the sky be the limit. If you've been with me at a retreat before, a lot of times I'll say it would be so cool to be on the Ellen DeGeneres show. And I think that would be so cool. And coming out of my mouth, it sounds so silly and so stupid because I have no clue how I would ever be on the Ellen show and why she'd bring me on there and what for, right? But it would be so cool. And instead of shying away from those things that are so cool, what if we leaned into them and talked about them more? Because the more something stays inside of you, the more you allow fear to drive the bus for whether or not that's important. But I'm telling you that if it's on your heart, it's important. When we look at other people, a lot of times we want to copy people, right? We see other people and we're like, wow, they're really successful. I want to copy that. I want to be like her. And it can lead to these comparison traps, right? I'm sure we've all been there, myself included, all the time. And as coaches on social media, we have to be so protective of that because guys, you're doing the good fight and the good work on a social media platform that's main goal is to suck you in and keep you there longer by means of comparison, false images of what life is really like, highlight reels. So it can be really easy, you guys. I gotta like pause and park here for a second. Do you realize that on social media, the reason I talk about doing your tracker and getting on power hours and being disciplined in your actions is because that platform will suck you in and spit you back out worse than it found you. And we're fighting a good fight on that platform. We are trying to be lights. We're trying to help people. We're trying to build a business and a future for our family, something that will bless us, right? We're trying our hardest, but myself included, I get sucked into the scroll. And the scroll is lie after lie after lie, because you don't know what happens after that picture is taken. After that picture was taken, it's like hashtag blessed, we're on vacation, and they did the whole like a chew reel thing, right? How do you not know that 2 seconds later, they didn't get in a giant argument with their entire family? How do you not know that 2 seconds later, that same person is scrolling, wishing her life was different, even as she's sitting on the beach? You don't know these things, you guys. And I hope you understand that social media, like, it's a hard place to do work in, day out. And that's why you have to be so protective of what your intention is when you go into those apps. Before you open the app this week, you guys, I want you to tell yourself what you're going to do in it. So when you have your phone, I usually open my phone, unlock it, and the first thing I do is I click on Instagram and I don't even think. That's literally my pattern. I go on Instagram and I don't even think. And then I'll see what's the first post, maybe who's up on my stories. Oh, I got a message. Let me look at my message. And then 10 minutes later, I'm like, wait a second. I came into the app because I was going to post. I didn't even post. Does that happen to anybody else where you open it mindlessly and you start doing something that's not even why you were opening in the first place? Yes. This is why we have to be so protective of our time. And so all week long, I challenge you take a deep breath before you open your apps and say, what am I about to do in this app? And then go do that first. Don't get distracted by other people's lives and other people's agendas and the notifications, right? So back to this idea, sorry, that was a little tangent, but I need you guys to understand that we have to protect it because this will suck you out. If you are feeling drained in your business and you haven't moved the needle forward, ask yourself if it's actually social media that's draining you and the wrong usage of it, where you are consuming more than you're creating. I wrote that down last week. Sorry, I'm still not done with my tangent. I wrote this down last week as my intention in the sisterhood. I said, I want to create more than I consume. This week, let that be your goal. Are you creating more in social media and for your future than you are consuming other people's content? So back to her life. I look at people who are in the direction I want to go. They are moving in a direction I desire. I do not take opinions. I do not take life advice. I do not take parenting advice. I don't take any, I'm not a parent, but I would never as a mom take advice from someone who's not the kind of mom I want to be. I would never take business advice from someone who's not gone where I've gone or I desire to go, I mean. At Summit, I asked a question of a coach because she had gotten some backlash about, why to sign up her spouse versus not, because me, I'm like, you need to sign up your spouse. This has blessed my family. And Charlie, as my spouse, was one of my very first coaches. And it years later was the best yes I ever did. The best trust leap I did when my coach told me to do that. I just trusted her, and thank God I did. Okay. But I was having a conversation at Summit with another coach that had heard differently from someone saying, no, you shouldn't sign up your spouse. You're not successful enough in the business yet. And my only question back at her was, is that coach successful in her business and moving in a direction that you desire to go? And she looked at me in the face and she said, no. And I said, then don't take advice from her. Take advice from people who are moving in that direction. So I look at other women and I say, what about her life do I want to duplicate? And I also look at my life and I ask, what would I want to omit? I knew when I was a teacher, I wanted to omit the boss. I wanted to omit my principal. God, I wanted to omit him. I wanted to omit being locked into how many days I could call in sick or how many vacation days I had or when I could use them. I wanted to omit having to be in my car by 8:30 a.m. or else, God, I'm panicking because I'm going to be late. I wanted to omit that feeling. What about your current life do you want to omit? That's your hope for your future. That's your vision. That's your dream. A dream doesn't have to be like a mansion and 6 Teslas. It could be like, that's cool. But sometimes it's just a feeling like, I just don't want to have this feeling anymore. Right? This is my very first vision board that I ever made when I started truly taking my business seriously. And if you've never made a vision board, I know it's August, but why not, right? Get some magazines out and just start seeing what inspires you. What would you want to duplicate? What in this magazine stands out to you, right? And start cutting it out. And again, you don't have to be anywhere yet. When I made this vision board, it says pray down the side. You guys, I had zero prayer life. I didn't like praying out loud. I was I lacked a lot of confidence in myself, but I put that there because I saw other women who had really great prayer lives and who seemed like they were doing really well spiritually. And I wanted that, like a venti size of it, like, please, you know? I have this thing in the top that says bring home the bacon, because at that time, you guys, when I made this vision board, I was getting things like negative $17 paychecks. People were returning their stuff and I was owing Beachbody money. I was not bringing home the bacon, but I hoped for that. I wanted to contribute. If you notice in the middle there, there's some stars and some dashed lines at the bottom. Those were for my diamonds. I had none. Not even like, not just, I didn't have any PS, I didn't have any PSs. I had no one on our team had gone diamond yet. They were blank. That picture that you see with all the women with their arms up, I saw other coaches going to events like Summit and Super Weekends and retreats, and they would take these awesome pictures where they were all like arms around each other, linked in hand, and just like, I craved that so bad. Thank God they posted those, because that helped me create a vision for what I wanted to bring in my future. When I made this vision board, that wasn't true yet. And my favorite part, the reason I show you this, is not the skincare part at the top. I'm still working on that. It's definitely not the skincare. It's the part in the bottom right corner that says home owners. When I made this vision board, it was laughable how not close to home ownership we would ever be. Like ever, ever, ever be. I never thought I'd own a home. I didn't think I'd own a home. I didn't even think that when I did own a home that it would be much of anything special or nice. And God is so freaking rad when you give him a dream and a vision and you just get to work for it. Because not only did we become homeowners, but we built it ourselves. And it's like the most beautiful vision and dream come to life. And all it's done for me is show me that there's more that's possible, right? And so when I look at this vision board, I love to share it because I want you to see that your vision can and will evolve. When your vision evolves, like now there wouldn't be empty blanks underneath my diamonds. We've got growing diamonds all the time on our team. And I love that. It's you guys that are showing other people what's possible now. When you see each other go diamond, you believe in it harder for yourself. So it's a sure sign you're leveling up when this evolves. But on the flip side, the mistake I've seen is people, again, myself included, we dream small. Or we say, like we said in book club, I don't know. And we just close our books and move on. Or we set low-level dreams. Like we undershoot because we're so nervous that if we don't achieve it, heaven forbid, we'll be labeled a failure. Right? Like those low-level dreams and the IDKs and all that stuff, that's just keeping you small. It's not serving you. It's not cute. Like sometimes it's like, oh, I don't know. And it sounds cute. It's not. Like I want confident women who craft a vision, whether or not they achieve it, right? But it gives you something to wake up for and hungry for. And that's how you take it seriously, is when you know where you're going. Okay, I beat that horse pretty dead. Number 2, taking yourself and your business seriously means that you put in the work. So it's not enough to craft a vision. For far too long in my business, my friends, I had vision after vision after vision. I was crystal clear. If you don't know this about my story, when I started this business, I started a tank top company at the same time, you guys. I hope you, okay, if I don't think everyone on this call knows this story. When I started this business, I thought that instead of inviting people to my challenge group, I would just skip a couple steps and I would get a credit card, max it out at $5,000, buy lots of inventory, like more inventory than I could possibly need of tank tops and sweatpants and t-shirts, and put my Instagram handle, Run to Your Happy Place, all over it. And that everybody was going to want it and they were going to buy it. And I was going to become like a billionaire off of tank tops. I didn't become a billionaire off of tank tops. I also didn't hit Success Club because I wasn't doing the activities my coach told me to do, because instead I was over here playing in La La Land, right? I played in Dream World instead of putting in the work. And then on top of it, I went $5,000 into debt. And my friends, I'm paying off a credit card this month. I'm so excited about this. I'm paying off that credit card this month, finally, almost 8 years into my business. That haunted me. So when I'm sitting here telling you I've made mistakes in this business where I thought I knew a better way, or I have a different strategy, or look at that shiny object, I'm going to go chase after that instead of invite people to my challenge group, I'm telling you that's not the way. And I wish my coach would have shook me so freaking hard and said, Britt, stop selling tank tops and go do your freaking tracker. Get on a power hour. I wish she would have said that. She was just too sweet. But you have to put in the work. So steal this mantra. I take small, thoughtful actions every day in pursuit of the exact life I want to lead. Guys, you don't have to move mountains today. I know there's going to be a voice in your head that says you didn't do enough, you should have done this. No. Small, thoughtful actions every day. If you can go to bed at night and say, I did take small, thoughtful actions towards that life, then you did the right thing, even if it wasn't quote unquote enough, right? So taking yourself seriously means you put in the work necessary to make those visions come to life. You get on power hours. Last week, oh my gosh, you guys, if you didn't join in the thread, shame on you over on the Emerald Collab. But on the Emerald Collab, I said, I want to see your unsexy picture today. Show me the unsexiest photo of you working today that you can possibly muster up, and tell us what you're doing. And so many of us got in on that train. And, I'm like, I'm here. I'm literally still wearing my workout clothes, no makeup, hair still in a messy bun. And this is what I'm doing. That's the work. That's what's necessary so that I can show the glamorous shot on Instagram later, right? I've always had this marble jar mentality. So Brene Brown, her daughter was in school, and there was a little bit of like, not bullying, but like she had it was grade school. And she tells this story about her daughter coming home, and this one girl in class was her good friend. And as little girls, a lot of times it's really hard when you have that best friend in elementary school, and then all of a sudden you don't have the best friend anymore. And so she was trying to navigate this like challenging situation with her daughter. And so she asked her daughter, she kind of gave her daughter this metaphor about a marble jar. And she's like, well, think about it like a marble jar. Every time your teacher, you guys do the thing your teacher wants you to do and you're on your best behavior, or you got in line nicely, or you did the thing, right? You moved in the right direction. Your teacher puts a marble, in the jar. And she said, that's a deposit to get to that pizza party or that prize, right? Those are deposits. But likewise, we can take those out of the jar. And so things like not like, talking while the teacher's trying to talk, maybe she takes the marble out, right? And kids not getting along at lunchtime, takes the marble out. And so we get further away from the desired outcome. Well, guys, we can take this same marble jar mentality, and I know I just gave it to you in elementary school terms, but we can take this into our business and our goals and the way we trust in ourselves. If I think of myself and my actions as this giant jar, And every action I take towards the desired future I want, I'm making deposits in that marble jar, one at a time, over and over. I did my workout today. I checked into my challenge group. I engaged with people in my challenge group. I brought value to the team page. I posted on my stories. I shared on social media about coaching today. I did my income producing activities. I sent a follow-up to somebody. I replied to that email. Those are marbles I'm adding to my jar today that are moving me closer to my life. On the other side, I've had days where I didn't feel like working out today. You know what? I'm not feeling good. I'm not going to check into my challenge group. Ooh, I'm not getting on the team call because I had a bad day at my 9 to 5. You know what? I'll invite tomorrow. That can wait. Book club, I'm tired on Saturday morning, right? And we take deposits out. And when we take the deposits out, we don't take ourselves seriously. It's when we fill that marble jar up and we make the deposits in the direction is when we start believing in ourselves, start trusting in ourselves, start making deposits that are moving ourselves closer to that desired life. Comparison, you guys, cripples your confidence. So back to that idea on the last slide about looking at her and looking at that desired life. Comparison can be a good thing in some scenarios, but it can also cripple your confidence, right? And I catch myself doing this all the time. I have to be so mindful of what I consume, because if I start comparing myself in an unhealthy manner, then all my confidence is shot for the day. When I look at somebody else, the other thing is I don't just look at the desired life I want to have. I ask, what's the consequence of that? So for example, if I look at, when I look at like a coach like Melanie Mitro, who's been top coach 4 times, right? And I look at her life and what she's been able to do for her kids and her family and all the things, right? I also have to ask myself, what's the consequence of getting there? What did she have to sacrifice? And sometimes it's worth copying. Sometimes that sacrifice is just rolling up your sleeves and doing the dang thing, right? But sometimes the consequence is, and this is not like the case in Melanie's life at all. I'm not trying to I don't know her life. So take her example away now, but maybe that coach is really successful. Maybe they are hitting, I don't know, numbers like SC50 every month, and they're bringing on all these new coaches and they're rank advancing and they get to speak on the national wake up call and all this stuff. But maybe they have no friends. Maybe they haven't been to church in 10 years and have no spiritual foundation. Maybe they are in a crumbling relationship. Maybe the consequence of copying that is they don't have time for their kids. And so you have to be very careful about what you want to copy on social media and who you're comparing yourself to, because you have to understand that there's a sacrifice for everything. Okay. So when we look at that superficial grass, like, oh, the grass is greener over there. It must be greener. She's doing it over there. Like, no. She still has grass. It's where you water it that it's greener. So that's the work. The grass isn't greener on a different team. The grass isn't greener if you just tried this program. The grass isn't greener if only your upline coach was, helping you out. The grass isn't greener if you had better social media skills or you lived in a house that had better lighting. The grass isn't greener there. It's green where you water it. And all of these imperfections in your journey are opportunities for growth. And the last thing I want you to know about this, because I needed to be reminded of this a lot in my journey, is that all successful people, I would venture to say almost all successful people, keep their day jobs while they build their dream job. So for everyone out here that's like, oh, I've got my 9 to 5, and once things settle down with that, or once I get back on summer break, school started back up. So when summer break comes next year, right? Like, are we already telling ourselves that, teachers? I don't know. But while you are doing your day job, you can also build your day job. That's how I started with this. That's how so many other coaches started with this. So telling ourselves that maybe if I had all the time in the world to do this, then I would be successful. That's just a lie, and it's holding you back. You've got to put in the work where you're at right now and use this dream job, right? Building this dream job while you're working the day job as this passion project that you get excited to come home to. That's what this was for me when I was full-time teaching, was what it was when I was at Orange Theory Fitness and at Lululemon. It was that when I got home, I was so excited about this thing that was mine. And so I got to work. So let me just kind of recap, because I know there's so much meat to what I'm saying. And I've just got I'm giving you so many words tonight. So far, how do we take ourselves seriously? We have a vision. We know where we're going. We're not afraid to dream big and share it out loud. Number 2, we take action. We're putting in the work. And number 3 is this whole consistency mindset, climbing the staircase. You've got to take a step at a time, one at a time, small steps until you get to the top. And along the way, you wash, you rinse, you reflect on things and adjust things, and then continue moving, right? It's not just this mindless wash, rinse, repeat cycle, because you're going to climb the stairs and get to the top and be like, how come it didn't work? Well, you weren't reflecting on anything. You didn't adjust things that weren't going well, right? You weren't aware. So you have to understand, taking yourself seriously, first of all, means that you keep freaking going, that you refuse to quit before you reap the reward of your hard work. That's something that keeps me in this business to this day, you guys. Knowing that there are things I haven't achieved yet is what makes me wake up and keep working. Sometimes I wonder what it's like to be the 15-star coach or to be the top coach, because when they get to that milestone, do they feel like they've done it? Well, I kind of did as much as you could do with this, so on to the next, right? I don't know. I'm often curious about that. Do they get to that mountaintop and be like, well, there really is no more to climb. I'm the top coach. I've hit the highest possible star rank in the company. Adios. I don't know. But for me, I haven't. And I want you to write this down, because you need to come back to this often. I wish my coach would have told me this. The business gets fun at 2-star. Write that down. The business gets fun at 2-star. The business is not fun at Emerald. It's not fun at Diamond. It's not even fun at 1-star, my friends. It gets fun at 2-star, because when you're craving that community of other people that want to work this as a business too, you have to get to 2-star for that. If you're craving a business that could replace your full-time income, or want to be able to go part-time at a job so you have more time with your kids and more freedom in your yes, financially is 2-star. No one taught me that in the beginning. And so I put Diamond on a pedestal, but I got a fun story for you guys. I built my mom's account last summer to Diamond. Okay. She's one of the coaches that helped us go into 3-star qual. And it was a big thing. It was right around this time last year. I basically, built her to Diamond in a month. Partly to prove to myself I could do it, partly because our team needed some momentum, right? But I'll tell you, as of the cancellation that I got yesterday, my mom now has 0 coaches on her team. Why? Coaches cancel. Even the business building coaches, the ones who were Emerald that helped my mom get to Diamond status, they have since quit, and their coaches have quit. And I haven't, this is why I talk so much about Emerald every month, Emerald again, because in my mom's business center, I stopped focusing on her business center. I moved on and focused in other areas that were important to me in 2021. My mom's business center was not one of them, right? And so there's times that you shift this in the business of where your focus goes when you have multiple business centers, for my leaders out there who are growing multiple business centers right now. But you have to know that sometimes you just let a business center sit idle. And that's what I'm doing with my mom. But in doing so, I want you to realize that letting my mom's account sit idle, she didn't just hold Diamond. So everyone who hits Diamond and you're like, got it, or when you hit Emerald, you're like, got it, and then you stop growing, you might as well not have hit it in the first place. Now, I needed my mom to hit that so that we could move ranks and stuff like that. So I don't regret that. But do you see what happens when you just stop, when you fizzle out? I fizzled my mom's account out, and in 1 year's time, literally not a single coach underneath her. There's no one in her downline. And that's okay. But it's okay for my mom because she's not a business building coach. It's not okay for you. That's why you can't get stagnant. This stick shift coaching, I think of it like stick shifting, right? And you've probably heard me talk about this before, but it's like that forward and back, and I'm all in really fast, and then I break and I hit hard. That's got to be tiring, and that's a recipe to me for burnout. Don't be that coach. I've been talking a lot using this word cadence, and it wasn't until Leah told me that she had to look up the definition of cadence that I realized, crap, maybe I'm not explaining to people what a cadence is. So I will explain this to you right now. I learned about a cadence. Fun fact, actually, Miss Leah, I learned about cadence when I took oh, was it Soul Cycle or Flywheel, whatever that was in Sunnyvale, California, right there around the corner from Orange Theory Fitness. I took my very first spin class at one of these boutique style cycling studios. And that's where I learned and heard this word cadence. And cadence was in regard to how fast your wheel was turning. It was the cadence, it was the rhythm, it was the repetition of it, and how quickly or slowly you moved. Well, that actually translated over into my running world, because there's such a thing as a cadence in your running stride. You know, you can hit, if you put on music, for example, if you've done 30-day breakaway, they put on music to a certain beat per minute to get you to run at that cadence. That's just the rhythm. That's the repetition of your steps. This business has a cadence too. It's the rhythm, it's the speed. And instead of having a all in, all out, like hit or miss speed, like some days I feel good and I'm in, some days I'm out. What if you just had a steady cadence? Maybe not too fast, maybe not too slow, but just steady. And a cadence too, you guys, that fits your current season of life and your current goals. So there have been seasons of my life where my cadence has had to slow down and pull back, and my to-do list and my priorities have had to come down a notch. Seasons like when we were moving, you know, from California to Texas, my cadence had to slow down a little bit. In the season where I went through depression and I was working on different meds and things like that, I had to slow down a bit. But I'll have you know that in that season, I never missed coming on a Monday and doing a team training for you guys, even if nobody showed up. Go back on my YouTube. I guarantee in that summer, there were probably calls that I did by myself. Even going through suicidal depression, I still showed up for this team because that was on my priority list. In my cadence, showing up for my challenge group is always a part of that, no matter the season I'm going through. In my cadence, finding at least 3 new people to join my boot camp is a non-negotiable. That is a cadence that I've figured out how to do, right? And then there's seasons where I can go like full blast, where I'm like, okay, we're doing diamond trainings, I'm doing new coach pushes, we're doing emerald pushes, I'm like, you know, all the things. And I have space and time to create a faster cadence. If you're in a season where you're going through something really hard, or motherhood, hello, like newborn, right? If you have a newborn, that cadence might have to be different because of the season you're in, and that's okay, but it has to still be steady. Consistency for me creates confidence. You've heard me say this before, but something it also creates, I had this little light bulb aha moment, is that consistency creates clarity for me. Because the more that I do the things, you guys, the more I work on how to invite people, or I work on how to expand my network, or I work on connecting and being like a nice person on social media, the more that I do that consistently, the more clarity I have around it. I have clarity around the stuff that is harder for me to do. I have clarity around the stuff that's easier for me to do. I have clarity around how I'm going to go about it. I have clarity around the time of day that I do it, right? So, but you won't get clarity on those things unless you're consistent on them for long enough. On my workout room wall, I have this written down. I wrote down, anyone can start. Can you be the type of person who, and for me, I wrote, can you be the type of person who finishes? But I don't think there's like a finish line in this case. To me, it's, can you be the type of coach who stays the course, even and especially when it's hard, tiring, and inconvenient? Goes back to your vision. Anyone can start, but if you don't have that vision, if you don't know what you're working for, if you don't have that thing that you're striving for, it's going to be really easy to say, oh, I'm not going to get on team call, I'm too tired tonight. Or you know what, tomorrow, Tuesday action hour, it's really inconvenient because I'd rather eat dinner, you know, at 6 p.m. instead of 7 p.m. Just inconvenient, right? It's going to be inconvenient, by the way. Things are inconvenient. My Mondays and Tuesdays are not convenient, my friends. I would much rather, when my husband gets home from work, be able to have a nice meal and relax and unwind from the day, right? But I love this inconvenience. I love my Monday and Tuesday inconveniences getting to pour into you guys. So I don't look at them like that. I look at them as opportunities to grow our team and to grow that vision. I also have to remember when I'm climbing that staircase, when I'm working on consistency and not just showing up and doing the action once, but actually doing it over and over and over again, that God's job is the fruit. My job's not the reward. I don't know if Susie's going to sign up. I don't know if Becky is going to go Emerald. I don't know. I'm trying to make up names that aren't on our team. I'm trying, I don't know what the end result's going to be. I don't know the reward. My job isn't that. My job's never the reward. My job is to show up. I can celebrate the rewards. I can be so excited about the rewards. I can reflect on them and say, I wonder what I did that helped make that happen so that I can do that again, right? I can do that, but the fruit, the reward, that's not my job. My job is showing up consistently. And I have this, I have this part from Build to Last. Hold on, I'm looking at the time here. Okay. There's a part from Build to Last. And if you're not reading it with us, and if you are reading it, maybe you glazed over it or you haven't gotten there yet. Where am I at? That talks about how what we do can save someone. And I really feel like you have no clue whose life you could transform if you just kept going. I think about all the times in my business when I wanted to stop, and then I do things like scan the Zoom and look around at you guys and think, oh my gosh, if I had stopped on that day, then I never would have met this person. Or if I never would have met this person, then this person and this person and this person wouldn't have come into our lives. And so I think about that. And so we have no clue like what your invite or your timing or whatever is doing for someone else, but he was listening to this podcast and it was told in first person. So it's written in first person. So I'm going to read it. He says, I was putting my books away and closing up my locker when I noticed this new boy who had just come to our school. We were about 2 weeks into my freshman year. I hadn't seen him before, and I noticed he was really disheveled looking. As I'm glancing over, I see that he's trying to get books out of his locker. He's got an armful of books ready to fall and a few that have already fallen on the floor. I decided to help him, which was out of character for me. I walked over and bent down to pick up a few books from the floor. I was on one knee and the new boy was standing up, and I reached up to him and handed him a book. He was looking down at me with these eyes. I had never seen anybody look at me with eyes like that before. The eyes were deeper than a normal thank you. Through his eyes and into my heart, into my soul, an inner voice said, thank you for doing that. I grabbed the other books and handed them to him. We started chatting a little bit, and I learned his name was Stephen. Stephen had just come to our school from another school. We talked for a while and then decided to walk home together, which was also out of character for me. It turned out we live a couple of houses down the road from each other. This walk home together became a routine. We started walking to and from school together, and eventually we became good friends. Fast forward to senior year, I had watched this boy turn into a man. Stephen was the valedictorian of our class. He was also the prom king and the star athlete on our football team. He had a beautiful girlfriend. He was the kindest, most sincere, genuine person I knew. I envied him for the guy he was and the life he was living. I was also grateful to be his closest friend. Now it's graduation and we're in the auditorium. As valedictorian, Stephen's about to give the commencement speech. I'm sitting behind him. I can see that he's really nervous. I put my arm on his shoulder and tell him he's going to do a great job, that everything's going to be perfect, that he has so much to offer the students. He turns around while my arm is on his shoulder and looks me in the eyes with that same look he had given me during our freshman year when I picked up the books for him. And I felt it again. I felt that thank you that penetrates deeper than a normal thank you. They call up Stephen as valedictorian, and I can't wait to hear what he has to say. He starts his speech talking about high school, how high school is a time when we have these different people in our lives who impact us. We have our parents, and he goes into the impact they have on us. Then he talks about our teachers and how we had so many amazing teachers at the school and the role that they played in shaping our minds and helping us to vision and create an idea of who we want to become. But you know what the most important thing is, he says? The most important relationships we have during our high school years are with our friends. I never want you to underestimate the power of simply caring about somebody or performing a kind act and not worrying about yourself, not worrying about what others are going to think. When I first moved to this school, you were already 2 weeks into the school year, and I had just left another school because of the amount of teasing and bullying I had to endure there. I got picked on to the point that I couldn't stay anymore. My parents moved us, and I started school here. My first day here, the bullying started again. I decided that I had had enough. At the end of the day, I decided to clear out my locker. I was going to commit suicide that day, and I didn't want my parents to have another thing to deal with. I figured if I cleared out my locker, it was one less thing they would have to handle. As I was clearing out my locker, I was shaking and I was nervous, and I kept dropping my books. Somebody came over, bent down, picked up some of those books and handed them to me. In that moment, I felt hope. I felt love. I felt like I might just be able to figure out how to belong. That one act of kindness and caring got me through the day. That one act of kindness started a journey which took me from who I was 4 years ago, the insecure, depressed, anxious kid who was about to commit suicide, to where I am today. I want you to remember, when you go out there in the world, that we all need someone. We all need someone to lend a helping hand. We all need someone who cares. And finally, remember that you're never going to know who is really in need. So just make it a habit of leading with kindness and offering a helping hand when you can. And then the last thing that I underlined was that the network marketing industry has the ability to save lives. Don't think otherwise. And I think when we take ourselves seriously, you guys, we start to realize the power of that, the weight of that. The fact that like you have no idea what somebody else is going through and you have no idea where someone else can go with this. And that's not up to you. That's not your job to determine someone else's level of success or anything like that. Your job, back to the beginning of leadership, is to show up on your journey, grow in all ways. Who you are today shouldn't be who you are in a year from now. If who you are sitting here, August of 2021, is very similar to who you were in August of 2020, sis, you got to start moving a little bit. You got to start growing a little bit, stretching a little bit, trying some new things. Because the plateau, man, that's such a scary place to get stuck. It's learning how to lead ourselves in our business, doing the unsexy, un-Instagram worthy things that move the needle forward. And if you're like, Britt, I have no idea how to do that. Awesome. I love it. We have 2 things that will help you. We have the first 100 crew for the next 3 months. I want to walk you through consistency for 3 months of how to do the things as a coach, right? And number 2, we've got calls on Tuesdays where I guide you through how to work your business. And then being that example so that your people who you bring on know how to behave because they see it in you. And you have that in you, right? Even when you're tired, even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient, it's in you. It's in you. And every time you show up anyway, even when you don't feel like it, or when it's inconvenient or hard or whatever, you're teaching yourself something. That's where it comes full circle back to your growth, right? Because your team's never going to outgrow the leader. And each one of you are leaders. So I don't know if any of that spoke to you guys tonight at all. I had this like, prior to the call, Charlie was like, what's wrong? Like, what are you thinking about? And I was like, I don't know. I feel like because I don't take the mic as much this year, that when I do, I need to have something like really important to teach you or train you on. And tonight I just felt like I really wanted to inspire you guys and to motivate you and help push you and nudge you towards what I see in each of you. But then I was like, but maybe I should be just like training on body or preferred customers or something. Like maybe I'm missing the mark. So I don't know. I hope that spoke to you, and I love the pages of notes and everything. Don't let that live in the journal, right? Let that live in your life. Let that live in your actions. Let that live in the way you post and the way you show up this week. Let this be a breath of fresh air to get you through another week. Yeah. Cool, guys.